How are you, James Brown?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm trying to figure out how to turn my camera on, and
Okay.
it's not cooperating with me. Do you have controls over there?
No, I have control over the volume.
Okay.
So I can mute your audio.
Okay.
You would have to turn on your camera.
Well, I'm going to go to that now and see what it's telling me. I'll be right back in a minute.
Okay. Hi, Deirdre. I'm going to unmute her. Hi, Deirdre. How are you? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now or?
That's better. Yep.
I'm doing good. You?
Very well, thank you. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes and let people just file in. Hey, Gabriella. Congratulations on your yoga certification.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. I signed up for another course.
Of course you did. You got it.
Learning never stops, right?
So welcome everybody to Webclass Wednesday. If you're watching live, as you all are, or if you're watching the replay on the recording, welcome to tonight's episode with guest author Natalie Merritt-Broderick, who I want to get really clear on exactly all the things that she does other than being an author, because this woman is an artistic wizard. I'm seeing things every day that she's creating. So Natalie is an author, writer, speaker, and artist. And she's an inspirational creative artist, which I really like that expression. And she's going to talk to us tonight a little bit about her journey of writing her book, In This Moment of Freedom. Okay, Poetic Reflection, Volume 1. So she published this book in July. We met in January of 2018, and she published her book on July 24th of 2018. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of the back cover, as I often do. So poetry is soulful expression. Through poetry, author Natalie Merritt-Broderick has been able to reflect on life in the most unique ways, inviting her heart to sing and her eyes to cry. For every crossed out word or crumpled piece of paper, her journey has graciously landed her in this moment of freedom. Her love for writing is lifelong, where she has created a world to disappear for a few moments or hours, knowing when she reappears, she'll be one step closer to understanding the true meaning of life. Whether in joy or sorrow, Natalie is grateful for every last word. Poetry allows you to be a lone bird flying in the sky while viewing the world and knowing with every part of your being that is how you see it is perfect. Welcome, Natalie.
As I unmute myself, thank you.
You're welcome. So tell us where you're coming to from this evening.
I live in Melanchthon, Ontario, which is half an hour north of Orangeville and about an hour north of Toronto, for anyone who doesn't know my area of the world.
Okay, that's great. And what's a typical Wednesday night in your world? Are you creating in some way normally? You're writing, you're creating pieces of art. Sometimes I know you're out presenting and speaking. What's your creative world like? Give us a little bit of a peek inside.
It's very busy, my creative world, because I like to do so many different things from a creative point of view. And my art has sort of taken over my world a little bit right now with what I'm doing from that perspective, because I love everything colorful and my art allows me to be colorful. But I also have been focusing more on my writing at the present moment because I'm going to be going away and I'm not going to be able to do my art. So my writing has actually said, okay, fair enough. I get your time while you're away, and it's been giving me insight to what I want to write about next. as far as getting back into the flow. I love to write, and I always have. And the trying to balance everything out has been a bit of a challenge for me. So what I love about the fact of going away is my focus is purely on that now. It's okay, you're going away. What do you want to write about? I've been making notes. The universe has been very, very good to me in that said, okay, you need to tell your story, which is kind of taking me away from my poetry, but that's okay because I'm going to take poetry with me as well. But it just keeps repeating, tell your story. And there's a lot of little pieces of my life that I plan on sharing with the world with the next bit of writing I'm going to do.
Okay, so you have a volume 2 coming of volume 1, or you're going to put volume 2 of the poetry on the back burner and then write something that's a little bit more personal? Although your poetry is personal, it comes, I mean, these are all reflections of different parts of your life, but telling your story is a little different, right?
Yes. So what I'm going to attempt to do while I'm on vacation is spend time not only on another book that I feel needs to be told, but I'm also taking the poetry that I've already written with me to do some editing of that. With me, I have to truly be in a zone when it comes to writing. So I thought if I can't get into the zone with the writing I want to of the new book, then I've got my poetry that I can go to and say, okay, you can speak to me for a little while and get me into that flow of looking at, because I've had the poetry for a while and it needs its space and time as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, the artist in you, because we're all artists here, we're all creators, right? Whether you're creating words to page, whether you're creating, art on a canvas or whatever that art is to you, we are all creating. Well, we create every day. We create with our thoughts, we create with everything, but you're in the creative mode. So take me back to when you first decided that you were going to write the book, the first book.
The first book, it was about 2015. I had the poetry for a while. I've got a lot of writing that's been around in my world for a long time. And I would say 2015 is when I started looking at my poetry again and sitting down and getting very excited about it, because it was there collecting dust and it needed to be dusted off and brought to the forefront of my life again. And even in doing that, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do, how I was going to do it. And it gets a little scary when it's like you want to put a book out there into the world and it's like, but I haven't got a clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So what is great is that I sat down, I was excited about, working with my poetry again. And then I got very fortunate to meet you. And, in discussions I had with my husband, he, sort of helped point me to working with you, because he said, like, you're not doing anything with it on your own. You need help. And I knew that because I'm thinking, this is too big. I didn't know the first steps of it. So what made it beautiful was you've got it, it's created. Now let's just get it out there. So with working with you and the guys, it was like, okay, I can do this now because it's not all on me to do it. And
it's like that about so many things in life, right? It's not that we can't, it's just that, some things just are nicer with company, with people that kind of have been there and done they've done the path already, and they have a bit of an idea of how to shepherd you and guide you along. And that's an absolute pleasure to be able to do that. That's what I love to do so much, as you know.
Yes.
And you already had an idea. You had all this poetry. It wasn't like you were coming and starting from, which happens too. You come starting from absolute scratch and say, I want to write a book. I don't know what I want to write about, but I know it's in me. I got the calling. It's poking at me. I know I want to get something out there in the world, but you knew, and you had all of this. So it was really a question of just packaging it up into this book, which is a gift, right? Because you were sharing pieces of your life in that book of poetry, which is very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So off you went on the journey, and so it was smooth sailing, right? You just wrote this book and you sat down one day and said, this is what I'm going to do. And it's just easy. Right? Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, we'll go with that. There was nothing to worry about, but it was nice finally having others around to help me.
Yeah.
I'm a very independent individual who goes, I should be able to do everything on my own. And to ask for help and to reach out is extremely difficult for me. And what was great was you were very supportive. Steve was extremely supportive, got to know me, knew how to bring the cover together for me, which was awesome. And it's like, okay, so you don't have to do this alone, do you? And it was different. It's different for me to rely and ask for help on this stuff. For someone like me and anyone else who's out there who goes, I shouldn't be asking for help, I don't know how to ask for help, because it makes it, I wouldn't have done this. This book would not be reality now had I not asked for the help, had I not gotten the help that I got.
Yeah, it just makes the process, it moves it along much quicker. And but it's like that, if your car breaks down, or you have to fix your car, or you need some help with something, I mean, you have to reach out. Nobody gets there alone. Right. So you think of it as just like, I need someone to coach me along until I can get there, until fly be free is your expression, right? Yes. So once you launch the book, it's like, okay, now you know how to do this, right? For next time, you already have a picture. You didn't really know what was coming next down that road, but now you do. So it's really just that initial journey of having, well, you have a team with me, but even if you are just, have one person that's guiding you along, it's really helpful. And I know that, you were moving through this process with, with questions. There's a lot, publishing a book is not for the faint of heart. You don't want to scare people off, but at the same time, there are a lot of, there's a lot of bits and pieces. There's a lot of things that have to be done, that little details along the way, and a lot of questions. So that the goal is to be able to answer those questions so that you never feel like, okay, what's next? So I know Steve did, he took a wonderful photograph and put that and added what you liked into the cover of that. And it turned out to be a really beautiful gift. So, So any type of, fear, or was there any beliefs, like limiting beliefs, that started to creep in as you were actually doing this one thing that you talked about but we're now embarking on?
Well, as I've said to you before, I've had limiting beliefs, fears, pretty much everything throughout my entire life. I believe what made it easier was the fact that I wasn't alone in this. Yeah. And I've had support from family and friends for years. But there's always that, am I good enough? Is my work going to be acceptable to the masses out there? And what was interesting was once it was done and it was out there, that was it. There's nothing else you can do, right? It's out there into the world. And so you just have to trust that it's going to be accepted by others. And you get insight into who I am. And what was interesting, I had a family member who came back to me and said, okay, I know who you're talking about here, and I remember this, and I'm going, I would have liked to have sat down with them and said, okay, so tell me where you figure you have pieced this all together. But I do believe those closest to me would be able to look at some of this and go, yes, I can remember the event. And not all the poetry is focused on me. Some of it is just something struck me and I had to write about it. Right. So it's a mixture for me. But I remember one person saying to me, it doesn't matter how many people believe in you, you've got to believe in yourself.
1,000%.
Yeah. So as I keep moving forward, I go, just do the best you can do, put it out there, and you will have a following, you will have an audience. And words like that, when I was told, Doug had said to me, if, you've got an audience out there, and I went, wow, okay, sure. And I hold on to that. With everything I do, I know now that I have an audience out there.
Well, the thing is, the idea to write the book would not have come to you if you didn't.
True.
Right? Because the writing of the book is not random. The writing of the book, being called to write a book, you get a message that's delivered only to you. and everyone on this call, I think pretty much has had those messages. You get the message, it's downloaded into you, and then it's up to you to take action on it. Well, what does that mean? When you take action on it, it either means you figure it out and you take some of the pieces and you figure them out piece by piece, or you get somebody to help you through it or whatnot. But the most important thing is you make a decision. You want to make a decision that this is something you're going to do based on the fact that it's meant for you.
Right.
So you can put it aside, because that's what people do for decades. They put it aside, but it won't leave you alone.
No.
It only gets louder. And then at a certain point, it starts screaming at you. Why? Because there's an audience, because there's people waiting to read it. So only by doing it and understanding that there is a life that happens to your book after it's born, right, Linda Green? We had the chat about that today. The book takes on a life of its own. Mm-hmm. So you can set in your mindset, everybody who's writing a book, use your imagination, write an as-if life script, what it feels like for that book to have been already published. What does it feel like when that audience is reading your book? What does it feel like when you're sitting at your book signing, or we'll talk about your speaking engagements, Natalie, when you're standing up there and you're reading your book to people? What does that feel like? Because you've imagined it, but now here you are walking in the footsteps of having achieved it. Like, how great does that actually feel? Right? So I know you do speaking. Is it Toastmasters that you do?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about when you went there. Did you present your book to Toastmasters, or was it at some other gathering?
No, I haven't. Toastmasters is to help me with my speaking and sort of focus on that avenue of my world. With my book, I've actually got an engagement. Whether working with me tomorrow, I'm going to be going out of town for an engagement for an author night in Cambridge. And so that'll be my second, because this is my first talking about my book, to present it and do a reading of some of the poetry and whatnot. And I'm very excited about that. And I'm looking to inspire others with what I've done and where I'm going. And I want to know where other people are wanting to go with their aspirations and their writing and any type of art that they're wanting to do.
Yeah.
Because I know we're all creative beings. I know we're all brilliant, and we all have gifts to share with the world.
Yeah, and your gifts, I remember when the book was published, and it feels really good, to hold your book in your hand for the first time.
It was, and what was interesting, and I know I had shared this with you and Steve, was when I got the box of books, I didn't open it right away. I think it took me a day or two to open it, because I don't want to put myself in the spotlight. And I know you've been going, but Natalie, you're an author now, so you've got to do that. And I'm very used to being in the corner and not the center of attention. So it was interesting that I waited a day or two. And then when I finally opened it, it wasn't videotaped. I just kind of opened it up and went through the book. And I did finally do a video on Facebook of, my book, but even having done that, it was still very low key and kind of quiet.
Your unboxing video.
Yeah. Let's keep this quiet. Natalie doesn't need to make a big deal out of this. So it's kind of interesting. I'm very humbled by it, and I'm excited, but humble. So I'm still playing sort of the low key, not.
And the opportunities are now coming to you because, we don't serve anybody by playing small.
Yes.
Right. So now, because you're keeping it low key, now you might find that because you're meant to ramp it up a little bit, you're going to get opportunities that are going to show up in your life that are going to be asking you to come out a little bit more, to be sharing that wisdom a little bit more. And then, of course, you've got all this other art. Tell us a little bit about that, because I see a lot of that beautiful, colorful artwork. What are some of the pieces that you work on? What's the art medium?
It's called acrylic pours, and basically it's taking colors and pouring them onto a canvas or as I found pretty much anything I look at now, I get excited and go, can I pour paint onto you? And so I've gone outside the box, if you will, from canvases, and I am doing glass, I'm doing wood, I'm doing ceramics, pretty much. Yes, I look at everything now and go, okay, I might be able to pour on you. What I love about that is when I first started, I thought canvases would be really cool to work with. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm making some cool art. And then I saw someone who did a pour on a vase. And then of course I went, ooh, this is even more cool. Like, because I wouldn't have thought, if I'd not seen a video, I would never thought of it. But then of course I went, oh, if I can pour on a vase, then that just opened up the world for me. So
I've seen so many of your pieces. I mean, they're spectacular.
Yeah. So the canvases, of course, taken a back seat, which is and is not good. But yeah, I look at everything now and just start going, okay, I did ornaments for Christmas time. I've done hearts. I've done flowers. I'm doing bunny rabbits for Easter. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and we were looking around her place, coming up with all kinds of different ideas on what I can pour with. And for me, I've always been about color. I can't get enough of it. And what's been really cool with my artwork is that the people who have looked at it have gone, like, you've got really good color combinations that I'm putting together. So I seem to be able to look at colors and go, yes, you'll work really well together.
Yeah.
And I am not one for picking specific colors that I like. I just kind of go, okay, let's just see what we can do, because I want everybody to realize it's not just, black and white or brown and orange. It's like any colors work on what I'm doing. So yes, I'm having a lot of fun playing with color these days.
Well, I don't know, were you doing a lot of that before the book? Because I know when we first met, I mean, you had a couple of projects that were going on, and the book was something that was, definitely you wanted to move through it, but I hadn't seen a lot of that artwork. Is that like the book just opening up a whole new creative sphere? I mean, I know you're an artist, period, but this kind of new medium I hadn't seen. Were you doing that before? No. So really, this started in, I want to say, April of 2018. And by fluke, I was on YouTube and I tripped across it. And I'm not an artist from the point of view, I can draw stick people really well, but I can't draw anything else. So this for me was beautiful because it gave me a way of doing art, working with color, being expressive in another way. And I never had any idea it was going to take me where it has. Like, I thought I'd do a couple of pieces and that would be the end of it. And it hasn't stopped. Yeah. Which is where I need to learn my balance between spending time on my writing and my artwork and my speaking. And I do photography every once in a while. So I love the whole creative. It's like a whole orbit. It is. It is. I love that. And I've seen so much of it expand from the time of the book. I mean, I didn't, I knew you a little bit through TIR and whatnot, but I didn't know your creative spirit until we connected for this book. But I've just seen this happen. So that's, we talk about, the book takes on a life of its own. You don't know what that's going to be. Maybe it's going to open up a brand new portal in your brain that's going to create another entire area of life. I know people that have written their book and then they've met people along the way and they end up actually moving to another location because they've developed a whole new artistic part of their life and their business that they wouldn't have really felt called to go there had they not written the book in the first place. So as opposed to writing the book being a destination where people have got that, it's a goal, right? And it's a very, very, it's a worthy goal. Writing a book it's quite an accomplishment. So anybody who's in the process of writing or is thinking that, okay, right, it's a big deal that you actually get into the vulnerability that you have to experience to insert into your pages, whatever you're writing about. We have Deirdre on the call and she's about to launch her first book of fiction. It's in pre-sale right now. And And this is a book of fiction, but it's still, people are reading about your imagination and what your imagination brings into that book. So there's a tremendous amount of vulnerability.
Yeah.
But it may be the goal, but it really is just the beginning of the creative process. It's not the end game, it's the beginning game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel it's so important for authors to understand that putting a book out into the world is just this platform that you can begin from, or people that have got platforms and they're adding books to it. There is a tremendous amount of credibility in writing and publishing a book, and it will change your life. It can't not. It's a piece of you that's gone out there into the big world. So it will change your life. And then what you want to do is imagine what that is actually feels like, as if it's happening right now. Right? That's the magic part of connecting with where your book is going to go. You don't have to know how you're going to get there or what's going to happen or who you're going to meet, but you got to decide. I love the feeling of being a published author way before you're a published author. And that's what motivates you to get back into that manuscript and pick it up and move through all of the different emotions that you're going to feel as you're going to work through it, because now you've connected to what it feels like to already have achieved the goal. So that moves the goal closer to you and it moves you closer to the goal. Right? Important part of the process. Acting as if, because we are the creators of our reality, right, Pazit? I have my partner in crime on the call down there from Florida. So yeah, well, we get to create the reality that we picture in our mind. So everybody who's on this call, whether you've published a book or you haven't yet published a book, imagine that goal of wherever you're at already having been accomplished. That's so important, because then you connect emotionally with the outcome. And once you connect emotionally with the outcome, it's real, right? And then all the imagination, all the downloads and all the information and everything that's meant for you to complete that manuscript will come, because you've made a decision to do it and you've connected with what it feels like. It's such an important part of the process. It's not just about sitting down, right, and typing a manuscript. It's way bigger than that. So it's a really good feeling when you can feel like, I have my book, it's in a box, I'm going to open the box. Even you, it's like, that's my name on that book. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So listen, I'm going to open up the floor to anybody who wants to ask Natalie any questions. So you can ask, any questions you have about your own author journey that you want to kind of run anything by Natalie and see how, she would maybe have experienced that kind of thing, or just asking her any questions in general. I just want to invite anybody who would like to now just get in on the conversation to let me know, and I'll unmute you. Yay, Linda Green. There we go. Linda Green is coming to us from California.
Hey, how you doing? Natalie, one thing that kind of struck me is you were talking early on about how each type of creative mode basically needs its own space. Like if you're doing poetry, it's one thing. If you're doing your acrylic pours, and I've seen that stuff on YouTube recently. That's amazing. So that's pretty cool that you're doing that. So how do you define it? Each type of mode has its own space. Is that a physical location in your house, or are you doing different things for different acts? Just looking for a little more on that.
So my downstairs has become my art studio, if you will. So there's 4 rooms downstairs and I'm occupying space in absolutely all 4 of them. And so it all depends. Like I put, my writing desk is in where I do my pours, and it's all within the flow of what I want to do. So right now, to be honest with you, my acrylic pours are taking up the majority of my time. But as I mentioned earlier, because I'm going away, I've got this universal being telling me, okay, you're going away, you're going to be able to give time to your writing. So now I need to give you this. Mm-hmm. And I have gotten much better at listening to that universal voice that says, this is what you need to work on. So for me, it's listening and then just doing what I need to do at specific times. And my spaces covers everything. I want a studio. I'm going to have a studio at some point that I can specifically have for my art, and then I can put my basement back to my writing space. But for right now, everything's done in one area, and when I wake up in the morning, I know what I'm going to do.
Cool.
That's an interesting. It's a really good question, Linda, because I think a lot of people feel like that if they're in their home or where they are and feel like they want to have like a corner that's just dedicated to that one thing, like a writing desk or a chair where you go and you journal and you write and whatnot. You want to have kind of like that sacred space. So Natalie's now expanded into so many mediums, she needs much more space.
Yeah.
Yes. I can appreciate that as I get more and more into watercolors.
That's right. That's true. That's right. So what do you do with your watercolors? Where do you paint?
Well, every Wednesday afternoon I go to a workshop here in town at the local arts center, and really quality instruction going on. So that's where I usually paint, but it's like probably after dinner I'm going to put my computer away and get a little painting in. We didn't do class today because the instructor went on a cruise where it's warm and sunny. But yeah, it's like since I started studying that, it's like slowly it's like, oh, I need that type of paintbrush. Now I need that tool. I need that tool. And the bag I started with to carry all my supplies, now I need a bigger bag. But I think the painting has actually helped with writing. So, because it's, exercising a different part of the brain, and it helps keep that creative door open just a little bit longer. And it's a lot easier to get into the flow of writing because I'm also doing this other creative piece. So it kind of keeps the momentum rolling through the week. So
Good. Yeah, it's keeping yourself in the flow of that creative energy, right?
Yeah.
And not getting unplugged from it, because life happens. Life happens.
It does.
Get along, you get into all sorts of different things that show up in your path, but to find a way to stay connected will always keep you on like in some sort of target towards your, and you're working on your book, you're working on it constantly, as you move through. And I'm sure the painting does help. It just keeps you in that creative energy. Yeah.
It does.
Okay. Good. That's great. Thank you, Linda. Anybody else? Who else would like to ask Natalie a question or share anything about their own journey? I'm unmuting Deirdre. Hi, Deirdre.
Hi. I was actually asked to go to my old high school and after school one day and talk to some of the girls about the importance of writing. And they want an emphasis on poetry. So I'm curious how you would say how poetry changed your life. Like, what advice would you give these girls so they use that as a tool, perhaps, to express themselves?
Did you hear her okay there, Natalie?
Pretty good. So let me see. So poetry for me has been beautiful in that I can say powerful words in a short space of time. And it allows me as well to cover a lot of different things when it comes to writing. So instead of focusing in on one piece or topic, well, I talk about everything because that's just what I do. Poetry is beautiful because you can allow yourself to flow and get emotions out really quickly when you need to. So for anyone who wants to do poetry, it's liberating and it's freeing, but it doesn't have to take up all of your time, and yet it's powerful at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I focused on the poetry first, was because it allowed me to show people who I was, what I thought of the world, but in a short span of words, if you will.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And I went in Yeah, I went in kind of different directions, but the emotional ties were enough to connect to others. That was another thing my poetry did, is that people have read it and come back to me and said, you know, there's so much you've written about that I can connect to, which is beautiful because it allows people to know they're not alone. And that's one of the things I do love about poetry. It's okay, it's really intense at times and it's hitting a really emotional topic. Great, I'm not alone in this. Like there's someone else who has felt this. And when you have that connection, then all of a sudden it opens up the ability to sit down and have conversations. Whereas sometimes with my other writing that I do, there's not that intense connection, or the feelings, they take longer to show people than a poem that is, you know, 3 or 4 verses long that just, oh, wow, sort of idea. So poetry is good that way, to open it up conversation-wise and to get your feelings out in a shorter period of time.
Which is really important for what's the age group of these kids, Deirdre?
I'm not sure. I think it's might be a group, like different grades. It's after school, so I think it's whoever. It's supposed to be like a girls group. My cousin actually is the one who's leading it, and I think she just wants to give them a place where they could be themselves, right, and an outlet for them. Because in high school, you're like you're out to the extreme, right? And I myself, I have so many poems that I've written starting from high school throughout. So I guess I can understand about why she wants me to talk to them about that. And she never said specifically. I'm assuming it's different grades on whoever wanted to go, which I think is a great thing, because I didn't have it when I was in high school.
I would not have survived high school without poetry. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have survived without that expression. I mean, that's where my writing started, really, really young too. Didn't mean like, you know, haiku poems or rhyming poems or anything, but they were my poems. And it was my way of working through the muck, you know, especially that really emotionally charged time of high school and all those things that, you know, we don't know how to handle emotionally. If you can encourage kids to write their version of poetry, which doesn't have to be like anybody else's, and it could be their little short story version of poetry. It could be a bunch of lines that, like, poetry doesn't have to rhyme, I used to say. Right? Like Natalie said, it's like those short spurts of emotion that you're getting it out. But when you get it out of you and you put it down on paper, then you can actually, I used to think it was magic. Like, oh, something that was in my head is actually now staring back at me from the page. But it was the way that I managed my emotional life. Yeah. And if you can encourage those kids to just use poetry as a way of just, you know, just telling their own story. No one has to read it. You know, it's just for them. That, you know, that's on the mental health side for younger, for anybody. Yeah. It's a really great coping mechanism.
And I told her, I'm like, I have 5 books filled with poems. I'm like, I could bring them and show them. They don't have to be great, because like some of them are just terrible when I look back at them now, but they helped at the time.
Yeah, so good. What a great idea to bring you in there to have that discussion. And, you know, if you can inspire one person to take it on and say, wow, that feels good for me to just be able to get it out. You know, when you're writing a book, often when I deal with, when I'm working with a client who's like feeling very vulnerable about expressing whatever it is that they have in their head and putting it out into the world, we back that up. And we say, okay, pretend it's not going anywhere. Pretend the only person that's going to read this is you, okay? We have editors to take care of the rest later. You don't have to publish anything you're not comfortable publishing. Some of it will be really relevant for you to be able to connect with a reader, but just for the purposes of writing it for yourself. It's very therapeutic, it's very cathartic, right? It's a really powerful coping skill. So I wish you all the best. I think that's phenomenal, and I love that you're doing that. That's good. They got a good person in there to do it. Super. Thank you, Deirdre. That's fantastic. Okay. Anybody else? question. Gabriella. Hello.
Hi, everyone. I don't really have a question other than the fact that I just want to be, I want to acknowledge the fact that being part of this group here is helping me to stay focused and to continue for me to stay on track and making changes, even as little as they are, every single day. Being a hairdresser definitely sets me to be a bit creative, but I don't do hair every day, so I do find other outlets. And
like yoga.
Like yoga, I have to say that that definitely helps me to be inspired. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're
and
welcome.
I guess at some point, you know, like me writing the book and whatnot, I guess we have moments where we feel like as though the course of the story changes. I wonder, Natalie, if that ever happened to you, if ever you thought that poetry wasn't enough, or if now that you're writing your second book, if you're still going to be writing what's coming to you, or if you're having second thoughts on it being all poetry again.
Well, interestingly enough, when it's come to my writing, I pretty much write anything. So I haven't tied myself to just poetry. I have novels that I hate to admit, but they are collecting dust in my basement. I do quotes. I have articles I've written on my website. So it's interesting because people often ask me, so what do you write about? I will write about anything that speaks to me or anything that I can truly write about because I've had an experience with it. I have a very active imagination. I have since I was a very little girl, thanks to my father. And so, yeah, I'll write about anything. Creativity in general is who I am all about. And I can have moments when I write very powerful things. And then when I do my artwork, I can look at something and go, wow, that's really cool that I've done that. And then speaking, I know when I'm connecting with people. And I've always said as well, when it comes to my speaking, that if it doesn't come from the heart, I don't want to talk about it because I need that connection with people. I need to let them know that they're not alone in what they do. And if I can speak in a way that it's truthful and it's from the heart, then I know I'm going to connect with them, which is beautiful. So I am very grateful for all the creativity that I've got going on in my life. It started out, years ago with my writing, and then I got into photography, and then I got into, speaking. And it's like, some days it's a lot, but I love every moment of it. And if I can, as Carolyn has said, if you can touch one person's life by what you do, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I love that my art's doing that it's reaching people and they're looking at themselves and going, I can do this, or they want to talk to me and I can inspire them. So I love my creative world. It's busy and it's hard to balance some days, but I absolutely love it.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Hey, anybody else? Tyron is here. Tyron, you want to tell us a little bit about your creative world? I'm gonna unmute you. Hang on, you're mute. There we go.
Alrighty. My creative world. I don't know where to start. This is I don't know where to start. I apologize, everybody, but
that's okay.
Right now,
no, I'm putting him on the spot, so that's not fair. You do some writing right now, don't you?
Yes, I am. I'm currently trying to write my first book, which is still in the process, and it's quite scary, to be honest with you. There's a lot of fear and doubt, just like how Natalie said. And but the more I continue and the more that I'm like recording and just trying to get it out there, the more I feel more confident that it will touch a lot of people, So yeah, it's it's quite strange actually, because you don't know what's gonna happen through this journey. You're just walking through this journey, and yeah, it's I'm sorry everybody, but yeah, it's just
No, you're good. You're good. I just know that you have a talent, and we've spoken, and I know that how passionate you are about writing, and there is no right or wrong way. There
yeah, I
is
agree.
no one size fits all. There's no cookie cutter.
Mhm.
Everybody is on a journey, and your book is yours, and how you're going to express yourself is yours. So, it's not a matter of being compared, because we never, we don't want to compare ourselves to anybody because we're just so unique. But the fact
Exactly.
that you're expressing now, and you're taking the opportunity to spend time expressing with words and discovering what your voice is, and the fact that you're even aware you're on a journey is quite extraordinary all by itself,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
agree.
I think it's just fantastic. I just want to welcome you to the call, and I'm really glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. I just have one more thing. Just a couple of days ago that I saw the movie Yes Man. I don't know if anybody saw the movie Yes Man, but it's with Jim Carrey. And yeah, it kind of inspired me to take control of my life more and just say yes. The last time I didn't come to this video chat because of fear. This time it came back, but I said yes to it, and finally here. So yeah, exactly. So
I love that. That's
yeah,
fantastic. So congratulations. That's the way you do it. Like the antidote to fear is doing, right? Taking action.
exactly. So I'm very blessed to be where I'm at right now.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
so good. Well, this is a safe space, so please come back.
I will definitely. I
Yeah,
think Jules wanted to
fantastic. I love
talk.
that. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Anything anybody wants to share? I'm just trying to read the chat as well. Okay, I have put Natalie's website in the chat. I think if you can see it, you have to just scroll up. I have the link to her book, and I have her website, which is really a beautiful website. She's done a beautiful job with it. So those two links are in the chat, just in case you want. And Wanda. Hello, Wanda.
Hi, Carolyn. Thank you. You look stunning as always.
Oh my
God
goodness.
bless
Thank
you.
you,
I love
Wanda.
you. Guys, I want to thank everybody who's on this call tonight. You guys are such an inspiration. Natalie, God bless you richly. Seriously, I wish you all the best on your success with your book. Tyron, what you were saying about what you were just saying 2 minutes ago about fear and so on. Listen, Natalie, I'm like almost done myself. And yes, I can hear you guys. I feel it. We don't know what it's going to come out. We don't know how it's going to come out. And a lot of times it is fear that stops us. And we mentioned that last week. But hearing all of you tonight speaking has inspired me. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I am looking forward into reading your book as well, and continue the great success and all the poetry. I'm not much into poetry, but I will definitely look into it. The only poetry I know is songs. So, when you're reading the songs,
Yeah.
like we're just reading it, not listening to the music itself, it is quite deep. And when you do reach out to people's souls, even if it's just one, you know that you're on your way to success. So thank you. I just wanted to share that.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Wanda. Yeah, fear is it's part of the program. It's about vulnerability and judgment, right? We're always worried about what are they going to say, what are they going to think, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because it's your story. When people come to me and they go, well, I always wanted to be an author, but who's going to care about what I write? Or, being an author is, the word author is just being the authority. That's all it is. It is quite a grand thing to publish a book, because it's a big deal. It's a big accomplishment to do that. But becoming an author has everything to do with becoming the person who is the author. The author odyssey is about the journey that you take, developing self and walking that journey. It has more to do with that. By the time you publish your book, you're not the same being you were when you started. your personal development journey is the author odyssey. So being an author is being the authority of your story. So if not you, like, who am I to tell that story? Who am I to write a book? Well, if not you, who? It's your authority, whether it's business authority, or if it's your personal story, or it's your imagination, you're writing fiction or poetry, it's coming out of your heart and your soul. You're unique to it. There's no one else that can write a book like you. There's no one else who can tell that story. So being an author is really just own the fact that you're the authority on what it is you want to share with the world. And that sometimes gets people past that terror barrier. That little bit of fear that kind of stands the big boulder that comes into the, yeah, you know. Don't underestimate your power to inspire another person, okay? Because it's a question of serving others. We write books to be of service to other people. We write books to express ourselves, but we also know that we're going to change the life of another or more. When you think of it that way, and we take our eyes off of ourselves and how difficult, challenging, uncomfortable, how all that feels, and say, yeah, but what if my book changes somebody's life for the better? It kind of becomes a responsibility. Like, I was given this gift. We're God's highest form of creation. We're perfect. We have this beautiful gift to share with people, yet we're not doing it. And so when I say that little voice becomes, you know, it starts as a whisper and it starts to poke and prod at you. And then all of a sudden people you find say to you, you know, you should really write a book. Or somebody says, you know more about this subject than anybody. How come you're not writing a book? But you know you have to write the book. But you're not writing the book. So then you ask yourself, okay, what is it about writing this book that's holding me back? You know, what is the limiting belief that I have about myself, my abilities, my, you know, self-image? What is it about writing this book? What is it that's holding me back? And then a lot of the coaching that I do with clients gets into that. What is that piece? And then we kind of move through that to the point where, oh, okay, well, that was it. Okay, I can move forward through this process to get this story, this piece of me out into the world. So really, really powerful stuff. And I'm so proud of everybody. I'm like the mama, you know. I get so excited about all the stories and all the books and the journeys because I see it from the top of the mountain. I see everyone's success before you do. So I know that every story matters and it's really important. And I love having these little gatherings because we all get to inspire one another and, you know, get that one little, hear that one thing that prompts us to go and just get back at it, get back to it, get to the book, let the book finish writing itself. Right, Wanda? Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else? I think everyone's had a turn. Now, Judy, I saw Judy wrote a comment. You're a reader. Well, that's fantastic. What do you love to read? Because readers are writers and writers are readers.
I love to read inspirational books or personal development books. I'm addicted.
So who are your most common addictions?
Like authors?
Yeah. What books do you like?
Teresa Dubois. Do you know her? She's from Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very good books on personal development. I've got a plethora, just many, many different authors. But thank you for inviting me to this group. And honestly, I've got so many notes here.
Oh, so good.
I really do, because I'm totally surprised because I didn't know what type of a group I was coming into. So I just have to say thank you, everyone. So I feel like a fish out of water, but I will say this, very inspiring. I want to stay on these calls because creative people are amazing to be around. Really,
oh,
yeah, and very inspirational. But I do have a question for Natalie before I have to run.
Yep.
Natalie, you've got so many creative outlets. And one of the things you mentioned was you are also a public speaker, and I can understand why, because having that amount of creativity puts you in, let's call it a limelight, that you speak about what you've created. Did you take any professional speaking courses, or does it just come naturally to you as another part of your creative outlet? Or how do you do it?
So I was very fortunate in a few of the speeches I've given, I've mentioned and thanked my father, who was an English teacher. And when we were growing up, he made sure we spoke the English language exactly the way it was meant to be. The only problem was that my parents sort of kept me in the shadows, so I didn't feel comfortable talking in front of others. And Toastmasters has given me the opportunity to get out in front of people and speak. So I have my father on one side and I have Toastmasters on the other, and bringing those two together, I'm in a much more comfortable space now. And it's actually a lot of fun for me to get up in front of people and speak. So Toastmasters is awesome if you want to feel comfortable speaking in front of others, because it's a very caring environment where they help to enrich you and guide you to becoming a better speaker. So I'm very grateful that I not only had an English teacher for a father, but I've been able to use Toastmasters, and my voice is now, I speak more because I feel safe doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. Where are you, Judy, where are you located?
I'm in Calgary.
Okay. So they must have a chapter in Calgary if that's something you were interested in doing.
Absolutely. I'll look that up. Thank you for that, Natalie.
You're welcome.
And what is it that you, what would you be speaking about, Judy?
Well, I'm a health and wellness influencer. That's my role. So
Okay.
I lead a very large group and I do presentations.
Okay.
Quite a bit. So that's mainly my role. Mm-hmm.
That's really, really good. And health and wellness, what, like what area are you, I'm not sure if you're connected to Michael Challenger, are you?
That name's not familiar with me.
Okay, I'll have to share some information because he has a whole brand, Optimal Living, and he's always looking for people in the health and wellness that want to make contribution to the world.
Oh, great.
So I'll have to make that introduction. But yeah, so what is your niche? What is it that you specialize in?
Immune health.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so most people don't know, but the Canadians are famous for a certain product that was discovered at McGill University 40 years ago. And it's so great that it's in the doctor's prescribing book in Canada and the US, but it's a food product, not a drug.
Okay, what is it?
It's what is the product called?
Yeah.
It's called Immunical.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Molsons, John Molson beer family.
Yep.
They invested $25 million along with two other business people and did 22 years of research and then launched this product. Fascinating story. There is a novel written on the discovery.
Wow. That's
Us Canadians are very quiet about our accomplishments.
Yes.
As you might know. Mm-hmm.
So that's phenomenal. Well, there's a book there too, right? In your journey.
Yes.
And being an expert, because that's, expert positioning often if you're doing speaking engagements and you're out there in that kind of circuit where you're coaching or you're consulting in a certain area, often it's great to be able to duplicate yourself by taking all of the things that you teach and packaging them up so that people can learn more about you and know more about you after you leave the room.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. Fantastic.
So I look forward to the next call, and I'll have to say goodnight to everyone. I have to get on another call.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for being here, and you'll get a notice for the next call. And yes, please come back.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting everyone again. Bye-bye.
Okay, Judy. Have a good night. Okay, everybody. So that's a wrap. It's 9 o'clock, and I just want to thank everybody again. It was a great call. So many good questions and contributes, just good energy. I just love the energy. Everybody brings something unique and it feels really good. So thank you, Natalie, for investing an hour of your evening with us. You weren't pouring, you weren't writing, you were just kind of hanging out. I love it. So good. Well, thanks for sharing your heart and your creativity and everything that is so dear to you with the group. And it's really important that we all support one another. So I support you and everybody here. And thank you again, everybody. Great call.
Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome. And I'll get out the recording, the replay to everybody. And then we hope to see you again next week. Same time, same station. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.